Hi, I'm Russ Mayfield, investment strategy analyst at Baird, and we are back for another weekly update with our friends at Strategas. Today, we are lucky enough to be joined by Managing Director and Washington Research Analyst Jeannette Lowe. Jeannette, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Ross. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm very fortuitous to be able to talk to you today. A lot has happened in the U.S. political world in the last week, in the last month, so plenty to get to. I want to start high level. In the last week with President Biden dropping out of the race and Kamala Harris, assuming the mantle, what do you see as the biggest change to the overall landscape and for not just this race, but for the next 4 years?
Yeah, so I think the biggest change that we have seen is just in terms of how the market and consensus is pricing in what's going to happen in Congress. So after the presidential debate, the odds of Trump winning the election rose, but at the same time, so did the odds of the Republicans winning also the House and the Senate in Congress. And so those odds rose up to about 55% over the past week. They have now come down now that Biden has exited the race and Kamala Harris is in as the top of the ticket, at least presumptively right now. So that is a big change because people are thinking about the fact that with Harris in, there might be more momentum on the Democratic side, which can really help some of the down ballot races. And by that, I mean the races in a House and in the Senate and even in the state legislatures. So that's where there's a bigger change that we are seeing today, because now that has different implications for tax policy, for the debt ceiling, really big issues that we're going to be talking about in 2025. Obviously, if you have divided government rather than one party control, that's going to impact what kind of decisions are made, what kind of tax policies can be enacted. Is there going to be a debt ceiling fight or not? That's what we're going to be now focusing on ahead of 2025.
Right. And obviously in divided government, it also puts, a greater onus or a greater focus on what the president can do with executive power, appointments to key positions. So something to keep an eye on there. Thinking about the policy of the candidates, I wonder, is there an item or two that stand out as big differences between President Biden and, Kamala Harris's campaign or their policy prescriptions for the U.S. government? And then how might that play out again over the next 4 years?
Right. So I think that overall, if you're looking at what were the key issues in this election between the Republican ticket and the Democratic ticket, that really has not changed with Biden out and now Kamala Harris in. One of the things that I think is important to just be on the lookout for, though, is she has been more progressive on things like healthcare policy. So she had proposed something along the lines of Medicare for all as a candidate back in 2020. She's been more aggressive on drug pricing. She's also been more aggressive on climate change initiatives. We do also have to see, though, if she makes those initiatives more prominent in her policy platform as she moves ahead over these next 100 days before the election, or does she change some of those policies? Because obviously it has been 4 years since she promoted them, and she may have changed some of her views. So we do also want to put that caveat out there as well. But I think the big issues that we still want to be focused on are trade, tax policy, regulation, things along that nature. So trade, we still view this election as a referendum on the speed of deglobalization. So Trump would be more aggressive on imposing tariffs on China, which would accelerate supply chains moving out of China into other countries. Harris would be more along the lines of the Biden administration. Tax policy, obviously, we think that she's going to be keeping with overall the Democratic platform that has been enacted. And then at the same time, regulation, that's still going to matter. That's still a big difference between the two candidates. We do expect Trump to be much more of a deregulatory agenda, Harris to be more of a regulatory agenda. And those things are still going to be the biggest issues when we look ahead to 2025. So we're definitely going to be focused on trade. We have a lot of tax provisions that expire at the end of 2025. That's going to be a big issue for Congress and for the president. And we also have the debt ceiling that's going to have to be lifted in 2025. And that's going to be a big issue. And again, it'll be important as to whether we have one party control of the government, or if we have split control or divided government.
So no shortage of things behind us, no shortage of things ahead of us. Jeannette, I want to thank you so much for the time today. We'll look forward to being able to chat with you again before the election in November, but thanks for the insight as always.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.